everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the 14th episode of Voice of Silence. As always, I'll begin with a little quote or like a note, which is that when you deal with a person who's experiencing dementia, you can see where they're struggling with knowledge. You can see what they forget completely, what they forget, but they don't know what they once knew. You can tell how they're trying to remember. And with that, let's welcome our next speaker, Yoshita Swarup Sharma.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Yoshita. And before we begin, we always ask all my speakers to, just say like a short line before we begin. So is there anything that you would like to say?
A short line.
A short line, a message on dementia.
Okay.
Anything, like a small thing, which we will come back to.
Okay, so I think two things. One is that dementia is a global pandemic. It is of much higher, greater proportions than ever. And I think COVID has only made that worse for a lot of senior people. So we need to know a lot about it. We need to educate ourselves. So that's my first line. It's a little longer than a line, but yeah. I think the second thing is just that my message is that love will see you through. So if we can just connect to our love for the person who's going through it, for the caregivers, that is what will see us through.
So, Yoshita, I've known Yoshita, the reason why Yoshita is here is because she's a person who's very calm, who exudes a lot of calmness, a lot of understanding. One of the few people I know that has empathy for almost everybody she meets, and has a lot of therav and patience, which is the reason why I brought her here for speaking about dementia. She will be speaking about her father. And Yoshita, if I were to ask you, when was the first time that, first of all, please talk about your father. You already spoke about love. And I remember you saying something very sweet last time when we met and we were discussing this about your father. If you can give us a little background on who he is as a human being first, and then we'll move on to the next things.
Sure. So actually, first of all, I have to thank you for saying all those beautiful words that you said about me.
I mean them with my heart.
No, I really admire what you're doing with Voice of Silence, and I think it's a privilege to be able to talk about something that's very, very close to your heart. As far as my father is concerned, I think what I told you, my first opening line when I met Kanika that day was, my father is the person who's given me unconditional love. And for me, I think that would always be the way I relate to him, right? And I've also realized that everybody has their own relationship with a person. So having said that, I think Papa is somebody, he's an ex-IS officer. He's an ex-army officer. He comes from a very, very humble family in Himachal Pradesh. So he is the person in that family of 7 siblings who has risen through a lot of hardship and made something for himself. He became a beacon to the entire family, which means to my entire generation, which is all his nieces and nephews. Then when he would go to office, he was like the spiritual guru, right, to some of his colleagues. People used to have these deep discussions. As a child, I have learned about spirituality. I've learned about psychology. I have had my dreams being interpreted by him.
Wow.
I have had my friends telling me dreams that go tell this to uncle and see what he has to say about this dream. So I think he's just been a very larger than life personality in my life and in every life he touches. And so as some of you may know that I'm a coach, so I say my papa is the OG coach, the original coach, the coach that people would go to before even coaching was a profession. So that's about him.
That's a very, very nice thing to hear. That's a lovely childhood to have had. So that is really heartwarming, actually, to hear. So
I've been blessed.
Yes, touch wood. And so all this is going on, your childhood is going on, and he is who he is. When was the first time that you noticed any sort of changes which maybe you didn't comprehend at that time?
I think it started probably with hearing loss that he had around his mid-40s. And today we know that hearing loss leads to dementia.
Okay.
One disclaimer I want to make, that when people hear dementia, they think it's Alzheimer's, right? And everybody thinks it's about memory loss. No, dementia is many different things. It comes in many different forms. It can vary from person to person. So, but what dementia we're going to be talking about is called frontotemporal dementia, which is in the frontal part of the brain, which impacts your language function. It impacts your executive thinking, risk taking, and those kind of things. So, with Papa, it started maybe with loss of hearing. We don't know. I mean, nobody can confirm it because he was an ex-army. He was a gunner. So
Right.
we thought that, oh, maybe because he was with that, he had fought the war, and maybe it's because of that. Then another thing, and also one of his aunts, his bua, she had a hearing problem. So the hearing problem was kind of put aside, saying that, okay, this
Hereditary also.
is hereditary. Then I think in 2013, there was some conflict that happened where he was imagining a few things. Again, we thought, oh, this is like, he's behaving very awkward or very weird, but then you never even think that there's something called dementia. Dementia does not even exist in your thought process. Okay, it was only in 2017 that he started losing speech. So he started fumbling for words, and all of that happened, and then it started impacting everyday conversation, right? And it's not like you. So a lot of us have this thing, no, that, oh, I'm thinking of a word, but the word doesn't come. It's not like that. It's like, it's gibberish, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And slowly the words started becoming incoherent.
Right.
And so that was the time that we seriously went for neuro opinion, and then he had an MRI, and the doctor wrote FTD ?
Okay.
And that was like 2017, and today is 2022. So yeah, so I think dementia kind of has this really slow progress, and then it really speeds up, and that has been our experience. Then initially I don't think, if I look back, I really wonder that why was I not there for my mom, for example. I think it was because I never realized what this meant, because you're looking at it as one sense. ठीक है, उनको बोलना नहीं आ रहा है, कोई बात नहीं, या सुन नहीं रहे हैं, it's okay. But no, it's not that. Slowly, the whole personality went through a change. Yeah.
And do you think that is that could be because of lack of ready information and awareness, that you couldn't even relate the two? Like how, like today, COVID has taught the world that you see these symptoms and immediately you have these 6-7 things, COVID being the first, which you will get yourself checked for, and then you have these other like, acha, flu hai, ye hai, wo hai. You think that happened when you said that he's losing speech, there was a loss of hearing. You couldn't relate. Why? Because you didn't know. You said, I've not even heard of the word dementia. Is that why it is?
Yeah, to some extent. To some extent, it's that, so let's be very frank about it. Everyone's busy with their lives, right? As long as my mother and father, they were living in Himachal Pradesh. My mother was dealing, Papa ko kuch ye problem hua, we went and got an MRI. So I was like, okay, maybe you should come to Delhi. But no, we are okay. Himachal is good. So how do you realize that this is going to get into a very serious zone? You don't know that, okay? And also, then my parents used to spend a lot more time in Singapore with my brother. And he had taken that initiative or that role of taking my dad to the best doctors that were there. Unfortunately, what happened was that my father reacted very badly to some medication.
There was an allergy.
Allopathic medicine. And so we had to take a step back. And so because you don't know which way this is going to go, so they actually stopped allopathic medicine and shifted to Ayurvedic medicine.
Okay.
And that was a decision my parents took. Me and my brother were not involved in that decision. Okay. But because there was eruption all over the skin, it's very scary. Like you feel, no, what chemicals am I putting into my body, right? So that's how it progressed. It came to a very advanced stage only I think during COVID time.
Yeah, so you were talking about you as the daughter. You said that it was a 75th birthday and you were visiting them in Dharamshala. I think that's when some sort of very deep realization happened. Can you tell us how did you realize that ye thoda beyond ho gaya hai? Something needs to be done.
See, I'll tell you, usse pehle na, that loss of speech had started becoming more and more. And to a point कि हम WhatsApp calls करते थे तो Papa would just do this like a hug, and then he'll do this that like he's patting you, and that was our conversation with Papa. So we thought that okay, he sees, he recognizes, प्यार कर रहे हैं. So we thought, oh, it's okay, right? Only speech is a problem. And so I did miss that a lot because my conversations with him have been very insightful. Like all my life, I used to really wait to have those deep conversations with him. So I would miss that. And that started happening in COVID. I started feeling that sense of loss because I was not having conversations. On the 75th birthday, Kanika, when we went, Papa would just space out. And when I mean space out, like his eyes would just glaze over. So one moment you feel he's with you, and next moment it's a blank look, right? And that then there was change in his food. So like if we all are sitting as a family, Papa would always be the person who would serve. Now he was a person who would hoard. Okay. Papa would be a person who would always engage with you for conversation. Now he was a person very withdrawn. And so there were a lot of these behavior shifts. Then sometimes there was aggression. I didn't get to witness it that time, but yeah, later on it did kind of come to a place where he became very aggressive. And so the realization happened that, okay, is he there? Is he not there? For a moment you would feel he's there. And then suddenly you will feel he's not there. So it's somebody else. It's like vacant. That was very scary. For me, that was personally very, very scary. And then after that, I had my own COVID happened and all of that. And I think after that, I really started cherishing every moment of life. Like every moment of life is so precious. And that is when I again went back to Dharamshala to spend more time with them. So yeah, so that's how it has been. But things came to a head in December 2021. And there was a call and my mom was very upset. And she said that Papa had hit her. It was unthinkable. It's never happened in our family. I have never been hit. My brother's never been hit. And we couldn't deal with it actually. And that is when we knew कि कुछ तो अब करना पड़ेगा. Now, it has reached a level. Something has happened which is, there's a major shift. अभी तक it was just कि हाँ बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. But then it was like, no. This is something much more. And I think that process of discovering has been tough on the family. It's been tough on each person.
I was going to ask that. Have you had the time to actually converse with your mother? We will come to your brother soon because you partnered. So I'm assuming there would have been conversations. But I want to ask you, could you ever speak to your mother who was with him from day one? And like you said, that he went through a whole gamut of emotions. So being the life partner, how was it, and has she ever told you that this is I could recognize him, and to live with uncertainty? That's the topic actually. How was it for her, and how would it be even for other people who are going through this with their spouses?
I think it's very confusing. I think it's very like shattering because this person is a very dynamic man. And everywhere they would go as a couple, both of them, in the IS fraternity or in the community or in the ashram or wherever, they were just looked upon as this wow couple, right? So for my mother, of course, it's been like you are dealing with loss while the person is there in front of you. And I don't think that can be easy. I think she's just been amazing in the way she's like risen to that challenge, and she's tried her level best. She's gone through so much shift, And I think for me, and that call that I spoke about, after that, me and my brother got on a call and said, we have to do something. Actually, they were supposed to come to Gurgaon because they had been isolated for 2 years in Dharamshala. They were supposed to come, and COVID ho gaya hamare ghar mein, so they couldn't come. And my mother called my brother and said, you come and take us. Now, this seems very normal, but for us, it is not normal, because my mother is a very independent and a very, she would never ask for help, right? But for her to make that call and say, come and take us to Singapore, I cannot bring him on my own, because he was having this kind of behavior. So I think that was the time when we realized that abhi to, Mama is saying this. So to your question, have I had conversations? Yes, we've tried to have conversations. I think that it goes through those levels of grief, like denial, anger, betrayal, all of that. And it's a mishmash, because some days you feel that the person is fine. And then something he does and you're like, no, he's not fine. So it's very, very confusing. And I think it drains the life force out of you if you don't know how to deal with it.
And I remember you telling me, and does this also come from that place of parents? Indian parents, I would like to specify, because I don't know any parents from abroad personally, that they have this thing of कुछ चलता रहेगा जिंदगी में ना, they won't tell the children. सब ठीक है. So did that also happen?
Oh yes. She would say that I'm fine, don't worry about me, and we are managing. And I think there's also that fear that abhi ye sab shift ho gaya, sab change ho jayega, then how will I deal with it, right? Because we were questioning that is it the right thing for you to be in Dharamshala when we are not there? And so all of that, I'll tell you later on when I came to Dharamshala again this summer, June, and when she had been telling me that she's fine, her BP was so low and she was on BP medication. She was not fine. She was not sleeping. She was sleep deprived, highly anxious, but she would always tell us that she's fine. So I think one has to understand that you have to go beyond that and really look deeper.
So then somewhere, I know we'll speak about it later, but I think there's a message here for the parents as well, no? That hum hain yaar, matlab bata do, because it's I don't know, we are parents also, and our parents are very grey zone. I don't know whether I will also tell my son tomorrow. I don't know. I don't know. Actually, इसका आंसर मुझे पता नहीं है.
इसका कोई easy
आंसर है नहीं. Like
because parents के लिए बच्चों की खुशी सबसे important
होती है.
उनको लगता है, मम्मा को लगता है कि तुम अपनी जीवन जी रहे हो, मैं ये handle कर लूँगी. And it's a beautiful place of love and वात्सल्य जिसे हम कहते हैं. So and I think मैंने ये सीखा है dementia में. Dementia is not a thing which can be handled by one caregiver.
Yeah.
One caregiver cannot handle dementia. It is not like, somebody is bedridden and उनको आपने एक caretaker लगा दी. No, पूरा behavior, पूरी personality shift, पूरी needs, and it's shifting sands. I was just talking earlier to a friend that it's shifting sands. You don't know अभी ये है, कल को कुछ और होगा. नेक्स्ट मोमेंट में कुछ और होगा. अभी लग रहा है बहुत शांति है, नेक्स्ट मोमेंट में एग्रेशन होगा. क्या करोगे? कोई आया, वो प्यार भी करेंगे, हग भी करेंगे, किस भी करेंगे, लेकिन फिर जूते भी रख देंगे कि अब हो गया, जाइए.
Just on a lighter note, isn't that amazing? When you don't like the people who've come to your house, get their shoes. There see so many people on social platforms keep asking, how do you tell guests to leave? This is a nice tarika. जी जूते आपके कौन से वाले? Match the following and match the door.
But it's very embarrassing. On a serious note, my mother.
There were 4-5 incidents.
Yeah. You get so embarrassed because there is a social norm that and the shift, right? And you have to then every time you have to make excuses. You have to explain to people why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and that's not very comfortable.
It isn't.
Yeah.
And I'm sure कितना भी अंडरस्टैंडिंग हो जाए लोग, चलो हो भी, खुद को भी लगता है that let's avoid only, why explain. So in a way you start to shut yourself out also, not wanting to. There were times you were telling me he wanted to go for a walk suddenly and he would just open the door, so even safety is at risk then.
Safety is
he would just
risk.
leave.
Yeah. Safety. So safety is a risk with Alzheimer patients because they have memory loss. With frontotemporal dementia patients, safety is a risk because they cannot process what is safe for them. Like my father, my mother and brother, my father, they were just traveling by car and Papa felt hot. So he wanted to take off his jacket. Now there was no place for him to take off his jacket. He was wearing a seat belt. So he opened the car door thinking that he will get more
Space.
Room to open. So it's a loss of your executive thinking function, decision making. So then you have to be very protective and you have to kind of keep watching.
In a way, they've gone back to being a child.
In a way. That's what the doctor told us, that think of him as a 2-year-old child.
And does that help? The doctor telling you, and now that we're speaking about doctors, can you take us through the journey of all kinds of doctors that you met? all kinds, the whole spectrum.
Yes. So I think it's again been a very big learning because my as a family, everybody has a different relationship with the medical profession. Okay, because of whatever experiences they come from. So some part of us, the family, would like to have very conservative treatment. Somebody would like to have aggressive treatment, and so on and so forth. So it's very important for everybody to sit together and say कि अभी हम क्या करेंगे, है ना? So इसमें फिर न्यूरो फिजिशियंस होते हैं, न्यूरो सर्जन्स होते हैं. So अभी मुझे एक नया लाइन के बारे में पता चला, which I didn't know earlier. It's okay. I hope I keep going back to Hindi and English, but
no, please,
please. So I got to know because my brother took my father in Singapore to a doctor who's a geriatric doctor. Like you have pediatric, so you have geriatric. In India, I don't know. I mean, I guess there are people who are supposed to have geriatric as a specialty, but I think that one visit really was very good for us, and that happened very recently, 22. So imagine if he's had symptoms since 2013, it's taken us 9 years to find the right doctor. Okay, we've had doctors, like he had a fall, ortho. Now an ortho should also know how to deal with a geriatric patient, a patient who's elderly, who has dementia. That case got totally bungled up, the broken elbow, because the doctor did not know how to deal with a dementia patient. They didn't realize that they had to communicate differently because he had to understand it better, right? Now, similarly, there was a case where we were looking for doctors, and so I reached out on Facebook. People friends gave us. So we have a friend here who's given us the rightest doctor ever. So
you can take her name.
Yeah, Juma. Juma is a dear friend, and she.
We need to talk about people who've been positive support.
So what I was saying is, so this ortho, right? So you look for tags, you look for specializations. I think there should be a special tag for empathy. आप वीडियो कॉल्स कर रहे हो ना, आप डॉक्टर रेटिंग होती है ना, डॉक्टर रेटिंग में एम्पैथी की
होना चाहिए,
हाँ, एज अ रेटिंग आपने. सो दिस इज अ डॉक्टर, वेरी वेल रिस्पेक्टेड डॉक्टर, हु वी treated in online this thing. We paid the money beforehand. Okay,
but that's how it is. You have to pay money beforehand.
And 2 minutes into the call, I put together the whole thing with X-rays, and the whole PDF was sent to him so that he can understand the history of the case, all of that. Yeah, वैसे तो ये सर्जरी, अगर ये यंग होते तो मैं सर्जरी बोल देता, लेकिन क्योंकि ये यंग नहीं है, डिमेंशिया पेशेंट है, तो आप देख लीजिए. ऑल द बेस्ट.
That's it.
That's
5
1 minute.
seconds.
1 minute, yeah, not even 1 minute, a few seconds.
Half a minute, 40 seconds done.
And my mother was sitting next to me and she was like, what the hell? You said this is a good doctor. I said, well, yeah, he's supposed to be like a very celebrated doctor. Then we had another such, so this is all this ortho thing, you know, that made me realize that for neuro, I can't afford this, right? For ortho, okay, it's a mechanical thing. But how am I going to, if I have such experiences with a neuro doctor, then we've had it.
Yeah.
And that is when we, as I said in Singapore, we had got Dr. Sito, who's a professor at the National Neurosciences Institute.
Okay.
And he set us up, he educated us. Okay. He told us these are the categories of drugs. He told us, you know, when a patient gets agitated, what are you supposed to do? He told us, we had gone like prepared with like a list of questions.
That's you and your brother, right?
Yeah, me, my brother, my mom, my sister-in-law, okay, and Ashwini, my husband. So everybody had pulled in their questions on a WhatsApp group, and Dr. Sito answered one after the other question, one by one. And we were on WhatsApp call. And I was there and I could see that the gentleman was so kind and he really understood dementia and he really guided us. But it's so difficult, right, Kanika? I mean, my message to the world here is that why does it have to be so difficult? Why can't there be a, you know what you said that day, why can't there be a repository that, acha, dementia hai, to ye doctor hai, yahan jaiye.
Information, to-do steps, this is what you can do, if it is this, that, because it's not new.
It's not new.
It's not COVID. It's not like COVID, ki ji abhi kuch panpa hai suddenly. It's been there for a while. That combined with the empathy, I'm sure the other doctors also, the ones that you said that you did not have great experiences with, knew a little more. But what's with the hurry and the impatience? And my request again to doctors, my father is one. And well, I'll say it, he's one of the best cardiologists, not because he's my father, but believe me, he is with, well, he's now retired, but he also used to tell me horror stories about how, again, like I said in my last video, education ki tarah medical profession in our country also is a dhanda. I'm sorry, but it has become that. Ki paise do and फटाफट डालो अंदर, patients को डालो, patients भरने हैं, wards भरनी हैं, पैसे दो, वो भी कर लो यार. But imagine a family like theirs, and Yoshita, I'll take the freedom to say this, a very educated family that is working in synergy together, like everybody, like her sister-in-law, her brother, her husband, her mom, they're all getting together on a WhatsApp group and really beautifully collaborating. Imagine there are families that are not like that. When you go to a doctor, आप वैसे ही इतने हिले हुए हो, ऊपर से doctor, all the best. क्या मतलब है यार इसका? आपके पास फिर आ क्यों रहे हैं? So that's a request, I think. Let's not go to Singapore यार. We can bring that. मतलब इतना 1 kilometer mall बनाने की बजाय, I think let's have some more healthcare facilities in this country. Yeah, and more educated and awareness. I think spread awareness.
I think if you are diagnosed, आप FTD question mark लिख दिया आपने फैमिली को बताया ये FTD होता क्या है, इसमें एक्सपेक्ट क्या करना है, 3 महीने 6 महीने 5 साल 10 साल में क्या होएगा. जब वो नहीं पता होता है, there is so much anxiety that is created. Because you go, what do? You go to Google will tell you the worst case scenario. You start getting palpitations. Yeah. And I have been in that spot myself. Okay, I have Googled and I have seen pneumonia is the #1 cause of death for dementia patients. And choking hoti hai because swallowing becomes difficult and that leads to pneumonia. Now my father started choking on food in June. And humko to laga bas, this is it, right? All of us felt like that, in fact, and that was the time when we decided that maybe we need to shift, because wahan pe, what is the first aid? What is the medical aid? By the time, because of Dr. Sito, we had a caregiver, 24-hour caregiver support, and me and my brother were taking turns to be with mom. But we realized that what will we do in Dharamshala, right? Because if this happens, who's going to, and we can't be there perpetually. Yeah. So some doctors there even said that, you have to take him and isme to tube hi lagegi. So they put a tube right into your stomach, right? And they said isme to tube hi lagegi if he started choking. I said, can somebody train my caregiver that in case he's choking while he's eating food, how to get that food out. Doctor said, no, we don't have any such thing. I said, but there is some maneuver, right? There's a maneuver if you choke on food.
We've seen it.
So, yeah, we've seen it. So he said, वो आप YouTube पे देख लीजिए, right? फिर
the doctor said that.
Doctor said that कि वहाँ पे जो डॉक्टर था, तो एक और डॉक्टर था, ये उन्होंने कहा कि आप इनको दिल्ली ले जाइए because he will need a tube. My mother was like, we are not going to put a tube, right? And that's why when I said to you, we knew that we cannot do this search, inky pinky ponky, which we were doing for orthos. We cannot do that for neuros.
You can't.
And that is when I put stuff on Gurgaon Moms. I put stuff on Facebook. That's where I got to know Juma's mom, who's sitting here, has dementia. A couple of other people, a lot of people wrote, by the way, because everybody goes through that, right?
Yeah.
So unknown people wrote, DM'd me, right? They sent me personal messages from Gurgaon Moms. 2 people who I knew, one was Juma and one was another friend, Shalini. Both of them referred one doctor.
One doctor, yeah.
Dr. Rajneesh at Paras Hospital.
Okay.
And it was a godsend because that doctor started him on a medicine, he added 2 medicines to the medicines he was already under, and that has actually, the symptoms have gotten better.
Wow.
And that's again something that you can't give up on dementia, because though dementia is neurogenerative and it is known to deteriorate over time, but symptomatic help is available, quality of life can get better. And if you know how to handle dementia patients, right? Like, agar Papa agitate ho rahe hain, we have learned that we have to stroke him.
Achha.
Just stroke him, physical touch, and he will calm down.
But that's only for your father?
That's for our father. But it was given to us. So there's this book also that we read, which is called The 36-Hour Day. It's a dementia book.
36-hour day. My God.
Yeah.
Very nice. I'm sure. But the title is so,
That's how it is for caregivers.
Yeah, it's so, okay.
Yeah. So what happened is that on that group, we started putting all these little things that we would read. And then again, changing locations is very, very anxiety creating.
Naturally.
So the doctor said, we were looking, my brother was very keen that my parents can stay in Singapore. But then we realized that no, Singapore is going to be very difficult because of visa, because of the fact that my father was shoplifting. He would go and he would pick up stuff, and there could be legal implications. There was not antisocial, but inappropriate behavior towards the other gender. So we realized that Singapore won't work. We have to get him back. Doctor told us. Then we came upon Samvedna, and Samvedna counselors were fantastic. Like, to me, they were my lifesavers. Okay?
What is Samvedna exactly?
So Samvedna is an organization that works especially in senior care.
Okay.
And they're specialized in dementia.
And they're based out of?
They're based out of Gurgaon, Delhi, Gurgaon.
Oh, that's lovely.
Okay. And online counseling sessions around and it's basically for caregivers, right?
Yeah.
So for caregivers, and then you can also do weekly sessions. So every week, because we were in that discovery phase, because the medicines were still taking effect, so new things would keep happening, and then we would learn. Like, my father was choking, she told us that you puree the food and use a sipper like you use for a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And so those small things, that when you shift them from there to here, how he should be in the aeroplane, how you have to sensitize the aircraft, the whole staff. Where in the airport are you supposed to face when you are waiting in the lounge?
Wow.
All of these things make a difference to the patient.
So important.
Because the patient will otherwise get agitated. Yeah. So
this is beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
God
amazing
for this. This is through Samvedna and a combination of the book as well.
Book also, Samvedna also. Then Samvedna also, they gave me a lot of tips on how, because Papa would just keep lying, and like, why is he lying? He is alert. He has high energy. He was walking twice a day. He continues to do his walks, and he does his entire thing himself. right? So why does it just lie down and do nothing? Then she told me about how you can stimulate his mind. And she said, जैसे छोटे बच्चों को you give them a lot of colorful stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I got this big ball for toddlers, and every day we play catch with him, and he loves it. He looks forward that when are you going to come and we're going to play catch. And then वो matching cards होते हैं, memory cards which you play with children, so that coloring books. So they gave me a lot of ideas. Does he like watching TV? I said no, he never. He's been the father who would say watching TV is time waste. Okay, but now you should see he loves it. We watch Tom and Jerry on YouTube and we're all laughing together.
That is so sweet. You know, on that note, just tell me your journey as a daughter, and also right after that, tell me the journey. This is you just spoke about dementia patients, and they're called patients only, right? I just don't want to be insensitive, please.
No.
So,
it's a disease, yeah.
So, your journey as a daughter, and also I want to know what were the dynamics that changed in the family. Because let's face it, when one person gets affected with the disease, and we are all, I think, all of us here have parents or somebody in the family that is, what changes and how do you deal? What were your lowest moments, and what were the positive support from the family, which held you together? And because I know you told me that it's a very you guys came together.
I think
what were the emotions?
I think dementia just brought us very close as a family. I think before that everyone was busy. I mean, we of course we would have our weekly calls, and with my mom maybe I would call her more often, and my brother and I would have our calls. But I think when we realized that mom alone can't handle this, and papa's aggressive behavior, the first thing that happened that connected me and my brother was that we have to protect mom. Okay. Because she was totally devoted. She still is 120% devoted to papa. But somebody has to take care of her.
Yeah.
So I think as a family, first it started with that, and then the medical, the search for doctors and all of that. So everybody has their strengths, right?
Yeah.
So my brother's strength is research, because he is an investment banker.
Okay.
He can quickly take out the best doctors, the best in the for dementia treatment, the best latest thing, all the research, the science, the neuroscience, all of that. I think my strength here was the network that I was able to tap into, which I never realized that it was there. But when I called upon that network, I got a lot of solutions. Okay, I think my husband's strength is to bring a lot of knowledge about health and well-being, because it's been his pet subject, right? And alternative therapies, alternative medicine, which is beyond allopathy. And then my sister-in-law is she's the person who can see positive in everything, right? And I think before we close, I will share with you the lines that she wrote. But I think what I really admire about her is that she, by the way, has a bedridden mom who she's taking care of. So that's also going on
as we speak.
While
all this is going on.
So my
and what about kids?
Yeah, they have 2 kids, and so my son was getting ready to finish. He was in his 12th, finishing boards, getting ready to go abroad. So I was having those pangs. So I think it was a mishmash. His daughter, caregiver, wife, mother, professional. You're just trying to sort. But I think what has really helped, A, is the family support, and B, is to look at, so you never felt alone. We've never felt alone. Right?
So nice.
I never felt alone.
That's
and
nice.
I mean, Ashu's here, and all credit to him. I think it was always at what's priority. there's nothing that is a bigger priority than our parents. And I think that underlying principle is true for me, for my husband, for my brother, and for my sister-in-law.
और क्या चाहिए?
बस
है ना?
बस
Yeah.
I think that was very clear कि आपकी लाइफ में और भी बहुत कुछ चल रहा है, but in a given moment you prioritize based on what is in front of you that needs to be dealt with then and there. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know if I digressed from your question.
Not at all.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I wanted to know. And I think, well, it's a very positive, very, very positive message to, in general, families also. Two things actually. There are families that are, that have so much of unnecessary, miscommunication going on. And here's a family, and based on nothing really. And here's a family that, I'm sure there must have been so much. It's all based on love, yeah, Yoshita. That's what is coming out the most.
It is.
It's coming out of love. That, let's face it, you had Soham, who was her son, who was going to study. Her sister-in-law, her brother, they have 2 children. कहने को तो बोल सकते हैं कि बहुत बिजी है जिंदगी में, मेरे तो मदर इज ऑल्सो नॉट ओके एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, लाइक यू सेड गृहस्थ आश्रम चल रहा है सबका. But I think the underlying was and has been and will continue to be is love, is priority, is a combined prioritization of looking after the parents. That's just, it's just magnificent.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
very
you. I think we are
beautiful.
very blessed. I think that is what I believe we've learned through this whole process. I have learned is that, you can seek support and life will support you. Even like I forgot to mention, Zogas is a company from where we have a caretaker. Wow, what a gem of a person, right? वो पापा के पैर अपने थाई पे रख के, मतलब, so you feel blessed कि भैया ये कहाँ से ये इंसान आ गया, and he takes care of papa. So I think, with the right intention, and we are just trying to do what's right in a moment. It's not, though we have a lot of love, but we also challenge each other a lot, right? So,
that's all right.
and we should be able,
It's required.
and your ability to have those candid conversations, your ability to say that, okay, like there was this conversation me and my brother had. We were in the parking in a car, and he said, Didi, tu dekh le, will you be able to handle? Nahi to I will relocate and I will make it happen. So I'm sure it was not easy for him to say that. And
yeah. And he's speaking on behalf of his spouse and children who are settled.
Yes.
That takes a lot of strength.
Yes.
And बिना बात के नहीं बोल रहे हैं.
नहीं, बिना बात के नहीं बोल रहा है. तो I think वो जो conversations होते हैं ना, उससे you become closer because you realize कि हम साथ साथ हैं, हम कर लेंगे.
हाँ, हो जाएगा.
कैसे भी करेंगे, अब कर लेंगे. और फिर जब हम लोग we were away for 3 weeks when Soham went to UK. एक हफ्ते के लिए my brother came, एक हफ्ते के लिए my sister-in-law came, because my parents had just shifted and it was very new for them, but we had to go at that time only, and so they took time off work. My brother is at a very senior position. He cannot even do his work. He can't even do offline work. That be in India and do work because trading is not allowed. You can't legally trade from another country.
Yeah.
So, but it was like, no, we'll be there, we'll cover it. Don't worry, you go right now because you need to go. So it was like that, and I think just that sense of support has been incredible.
It just goes to also show, not taking away one bit from you, but also kind of handing it back to your parents. That
absolutely,
it's a circle. My friend Shruti Haksar, who's right here, she and I have these conversations a lot of times, and she says this thing. She said it more than 4 or 5 times that, you know what, Kanika, a lot of people believe in past life and later life, but she's like heaven, hell, and a karam. Isi janam mein. So she's like, whatever you will you do, you will get it back in a circle. So this goes out to your parents. You said that they were spiritually, psychologically so progressive and were unconditional love.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just coming back for them. So
I would
that's
like to believe that.
and
I would.
touch wood, and I hope that things become really even better than what they are.
So I think even today, my mother, the way she has dealt with the shift, right? She was living in Dharamshala last 10 years. It's beautiful. It's heaven on earth. Yeah. To leave that, to move to Gurgaon. I mean, I get amazed. She's learning to order stuff on Big Basket and Amazon at the age of 70. It's not easy, yeah.
It's
But
amazing.
When you see that seva bhav, maybe it does rub off, I suppose.
Of
I
course
suppose
it does.
she sets the bar.
There you go.
Yeah, she sets the
At this age.
Yeah.
So it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just amazing, and thank you for sharing all this. Yeah, I'm sure whoever is suffering from this, or even normal families, let's learn from this. And one last thing before we go to your final message, you had mentioned care for caregivers.
Mm.
How do you want to touch upon that topic, and then we can get to your final message?
Okay, so I think caregiving is really, really difficult. It's very difficult, and we've been blessed because we have resources, right? I know that there are people who live abroad, or you feel that okay, फादर को है तो मदर संभाल रही है ना, तो मतलब कोई तो है फैमिली का, राइट? ऐसा होता नहीं है उनका. जैसे मैं बता रही हूँ, her BP was so low. If I had not been there at that time and monitoring BP for both the patient, I mean, mom was not a patient, but just
Yeah.
I said, Mama, why don't you also check? ऐसे. And then we started realizing, so who's doing that? Number one. So that's the first part, that if in our family there is a caregiver for a dementia person, don't expect that one person can do it all, because they can't. They need to be taken care of. So getting her a doctor appointment, making sure that she's on medication. She very casually passed and she just said, "Pata mujhe ek na ye wala infection hai." So then you don't glaze over it.
Yeah.
You have to like, oh, hold on, what
Yeah,
is that?
yeah,
You have to be very alert and aware and all of that. So that is from the child to a parent who's a caregiver. Also, for me as a caregiver, I was the one person in the family who said I need counseling, because it was just too much for me. I was damn close to my father. I was going through my own pain in terms of my health, not recovering after COVID. I had a son who was going to leave, my only child who was now going to fly the nest. I was like, I need counseling, dude. I can't do this. It's, you start realizing that, and it's okay. It's okay to say that I'm also a caregiver for both my parents. And so it's okay for me to say that I can seek counseling, right? Or reach out to friends who've had similar experiences and learn from that. And not try to deal with everything alone. Ki main bahut strong woman hu, ya whatever. It doesn't work. Yeah. And it takes a very big toll. Yeah.
On you first, and then again around you. What's
Everybody else. Yeah. And that's what I keep saying, that you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
So if you have to keep your cup full as a caregiver, you have to take care of yourself.
That's a very strong message, Yoshita. Even we right now are going through something, and I will have to speak about my husband here, that I think he understands this very well, because he does this for his father, who's taking care of his mother, and he takes care of the primary caregiver.
Yeah.
So that's something, and it's now been reinforced for me as his spouse.
Yeah.
That I will support him even more now. So thank you for that. And on that note, we would conclude. The stage is yours. There were a few messages that you want to give based on this, that you want changed in the world. What are those messages?
I don't know the change in the world, but I think definitely I do believe in the power of family. And family doesn't mean birth family. Family can be like-minded people. It could be your friends. It could be a community of people who stand by you. And I think it's important that we all figure that out for ourselves, right? I think that is one. Second is, like I said, there should be empathy ratings for doctors. If there should definitely be some wake-up calls that doctors, you're not just there to treat the symptom, you are also there to see that there's a very anxious family who's trying to do the best for the patient. So please give that human touch, just a smile, just a word of care. It goes a long way. And I think the last thing that I want to say is just for all the caregivers, is that steal the moments, because in dementia there are moments of absolute coherence. There are moments where that loved one is just being that self, that their real self, and that is don't get so caught up in caregiving that you miss that. And I think for us as a family, I think my husband's been amazing. He takes my father out for drives, ice creams, and we play ball and we do all that kind of stuff. And then when Papa will come and put his forehead against mine because he's flowing with love, I think that's the best moment, for me.
That's very sweet. And I just wish you the best.
Thank you so
I
much.
do. And thank you so much for sharing this.
Oh, I forgot. There's one thing I wanted
and
to
yes, sorry, I forgot. There is a message from her bhabhi, you call her, she's bhabhi, right?
Yeah.
Sister-in-law, who has written, they have a WhatsApp group, and there's something very beautiful that she has written, which Yoshita would like to narrate. And what's her name, please?
Neha.
Neha, this one's for you.
Yeah.
And from you.
So, in the day of soap operas, and when we say bahu, saas, this, that, here is a message that she wrote this for herself. And she wrote this after the visit with Dr. Sito, when there was a full-on diagnosis and we were all trying to make sense. So this is what she wrote. Papa is more than his illness. Papa is more than his irate behavior. Papa did not wish for this. Papa doesn't have words to express. Papa can think for himself. So we listen, so we observe, and so we learn. Thank you so much.